I'm that. I'm street light. But no, we weren't gonna do. I mean, we had to eat and all kinds of shit. He hadn't eaten yet, and I was like,
I
wanted
remember
to.
the shame. My mom used to be like, Christine.
Oh yeah,
and you
yelling.
knew. Everybody knew. Oh, you better get home. You better get home.
What a great app for your phone. Like, just the street light pops on. Like, that's it. Like, 6:30, you know you got to be at dinner someplace. Boom, street light comes on to be all set.
Yo, that's fly. I like that. That's pretty good. Right. Right. But no, they're friends. They're totally friends.
Of course they are.
It was beautiful. It was
so.
And here's the thing too. So now they're lining up. Roger has forgot about cleaning his tank. Turtle, tank, guts, rock spilled out. The hose is running. It's just doing its thing. Roger's mom disappears. I disappear.
Right.
Now they're taking their lineup. Roger's mom is on him about cleaning up. All I hear is just yelling in Spanish at him.
Right.
Underlay. She was cool with it. Everybody's cool with it. They lined up. Got into the racing positions, and I was going to give him a count off. Roger just takes it off. Roger's kind of heavy set, big.
Yeah, right on.
Roger, like, he just takes off, right?
Give him a bike link, they call it.
Yeah.
Right on.
He takes off. He just starts going, and they go down, but, like, my son knows not to go out of my sight. So the race didn't go right the first time because, like, while Roger kept going to yonder, like, you know, my son, the fear of God, like my dad had to me and shit, like, my son, yeah, I was like, no, keep going, bro, keep going, it's okay.
Home field advantage there.
Yeah, yep, exactly. But then the other kids, who are Roger's friend, it was quiet as hell on this day. All of a sudden, by the time they made it back to Roger's house, every kid from across the street, fucking bikes, Roger's house.
Right on.
All I heard was, hola. They're over there just.
Right on. They're hanging out, man. They're doing
right
the bike thing.
the fuck on. Right on. Yes. It was the.
You didn't have to tell them. They knew.
You don't even. Right. You don't have to. That's just a seed that you just walk away.
Right.
It planted itself. Right. It was great. It was just
beautiful. Here's some firecrackers. They're going to get along fine.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're going to do some fireworks in the backyard. Now I see I got cool neighbors.
Right on.
My other neighbors on the other side, though. Yeah, let's do it, baby.
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 8:12 a.m. and you are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. I know that we're 2 minutes after where we were yesterday. I digress, but I want to say that's because we got a good interview today, so we had to take a little bit more time to get this percolating. It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. We got our brother, our friend, Diesel.
Hey, Curtis, how's it going?
All right. Good morning. Good morning, my brother. Got my co-host, Christine.
Good morning.
Hunter. What's up? Jay Vizzle. And we are Good Morning Aurora. Jay Vizzle's typing. That's why he didn't say anything, you guys. He's here. He's here with us. So let's do some updates for the city and get the news out of the way. The weather is a cool, breezy, sweatery-ish. You can do a turtleneck today. You can do that. So if you've been having the fall gear ready, you might be able to pull it off today. It's kind of chilly out there. Yeah, exactly. Now, here are the updates for today. This is Hunger Action Month. Keep in mind. Now, free groceries, pop-up pantry. Pick up your free groceries at the 4th Citywide Pop-Up Pantry, Monday, September 14th at 9 a.m. Phillips Park, 1000 Ray Moses Drive, serving 1,200-plus families. No contact distribution. Food is placed in your car. No ID necessary. First come, first served. Shouts go out to the City of Aurora and Ward 3 Alderman Ted Mesiacos, Northern Illinois Food Bank, the Aurora Food Pantry, for putting that on. And that has been going on since the inception, since COVID started and the pandemic hit in Aurora. So shout out to all of those entities and bodies and everybody involved for doing that. That's a very good thing. We are smashing hunger, hard work, and thanks to the volunteers as well. How has your business adapted in the time of COVID-19? COVID-19 business implications and action surveys. My coffee's warming me up, y'all, so that's why the, kind of jumbly, but bear with your boy. Share your insights today. There's a survey. Now, the survey is brought to us by the Aurora Regional Chamber of Commerce and Invest Aurora, Illinois. We will post the link to that so you guys can take that survey and give your feedback. That's very, very, very important. Downtown Aurora businesses take on Hunger Action Month. All right. The month-long campaign brings awareness to hunger in the community and offers ways for community members to contribute to both Aurora Interfaith Food Pantry and Marie Wilkinson's Food Pantry. Aurora artist Teresa Millie's Fane weaved 8 pairs of jeans. That was from yesterday. That rhyme, that was so dope. I'm going to make a song out of that. Aurora artist Teresa Millie's Fane weaved 8 pairs of jeans into a shopping cart for the Aurora Interfaith Food Pantry's Carts for a Cause project. Aurora artist and teacher Grahami Wilkins' cart features Italian glass of all colors of the rainbow. Several businesses in downtown Aurora have also partnered with Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry on special promotions and donations. Altiro Latin Fusion will donate 10% every Monday in September from 3 to 8 p.m. from orders of Al Poblano Tapa and Al Organica cocktail or a fresh squeezed lemonade. Crisp. Gary Brown Art Studio and Gallery, 7 South Broadway, will offer a raffle entry during First Fridays on September 4th and Saturdays, September 5th. Those already passed for every $5 donation. Prizes will be artwork by Maureen Gassick, Gary Brown, and Karen Dulce. Holla. Gillerson's Grubbery will collect diapers and feminine products for the month of September. La Quinta de los Reyes. Ooh. I know y'all loving the Spanish, the R's. Y'all hear the R's. I know you love the R's. We'll donate 10% from Tuesday through Thursday on any fajita plate during the month of September. Chicken fajitas, steak fajitas, veggie fajitas, and combo fajitas all included. McCarty Mills Tap Room will donate 10% of sales of reserved keg from Brother Chimp. Beer of the month is For the Masses IPA. Shout out to McCarty Mills Tap Room. They just had another awesome after party in conjunction with Visual Arts after the first Friday that Visual Arts had hosted at Gallery 1904. Yeah, so they coming up down there. Shout out to the friends of ours, Alvin, Devin, the whole squad, front to back, McCarty Mills, baby. Treadwell Coffee, shout out to Chad, will feature Marie's Herbal Tea for this month. Society 57 and the Cottonseed Creative Exchange will have donation boxes for Marie Wilkinson's Food Pantry during the month as well. For more information, you can visit auroradowntown.org. Shout out to Aurora Downtown and shout out to Marissa. Also, shout out to our friends at Visual Arts, Pobum Society, and Echo with the event that's happening this weekend, Saturday at McCarty Park. We talked to you guys about that. We're going to post that flyer on our Facebook and Instagram today. Shout out to our friends associated with that. Shout out to the Aurora Public Library as well. And that is the news. And now.
That's some good news.
It is some good news. All we do is good news on this show.
There you go.
We do now.
What that news, though, is, Curtis?
What?
You started out by saying it was a month. What'd you call it?
Hunger Action Month.
Why has it got to be a month?
Why
isn't that our norm in a city this size? I mean, I get the fact you got to do something to do some advertising and bring some awareness to things, but seriously, everyone wants to come out Thanksgiving. Hey, let's everybody volunteer and throw some extra turkeys in. You weren't the first person with that idea that day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Tuesday in June. Somebody's lost their job. Somebody's got an extra kid at the house, whatever it is. So it just always bothers me when people feel the need to do things to highlight something that should be going on every day. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
I don't want the businesses are doing a great thing. Don't get me wrong. That's not where I'm going with that. But what I mean is
as a people.
But why isn't there a food donation box out every day of the month? Why isn't that the norm?
Interestingly enough, there's a group called Talented Tents that is building hunger boxes. So yes, you are right. Things that people get applause for highlighting on a specific day. The
Right.
Hunger Action Always.
Right.
It's called HA.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. But whatever it is, it should be. You do what you do when you do it. Okay. At the end of the day, nobody should be able to obligate you to donate or think one way about something. But if every grocery store had a bin out every day to throw a can of beans in, the hell's the difference? You're buying 10 cans of corn, buy another can of corn. And just made it easier to do, so to speak. I don't know how you do that. That's not, I'm an idea guy. But
That gets in all the food pantries. and
Well,
everything,
right,
yeah.
but to make it a little bit better flow, I'd helped out at some of them a few times, and they've got a good route and some good things that go on. But for your average citizen to be able to throw $10 a week in an envelope somewhere, how do we get them to be able to do that?
One of the ways we do that is by first learning who you are. So let's
Let's get into
Okay, there you go.
Diesel.
Right. Sorry, we kind of
For
jumped on the
for the
homeless thing.
viewers
How
and
I feel about
listeners.
that, right.
Diesel feels right at home because you've been with
Diesel's
the
our
show
brother,
for
yes.
quite a while, even
Yes.
longer than I've been
I
part of it.
honestly, before the show was a show.
Before the show was a show. So-
That's one of the things is with Curtis getting this whole thing going. So
So for those who may not know you, why don't you tell everyone who you are, where you're from?
I'm Diesel from Aurora, I guess, local coffee drinker around town and things. No, when I'm gonna say about 7 or 8 years ago, some friends of mine from high school had become pretty involved in the new art scene down here, and the old DAM meetings, which have led to the First Fridays and things like that. I'm lucky enough to kind of have a odd job kind of lifestyle these days that allows me to come down and meet some people and spend some time down here and meet a lot of good people and hopefully make some connections for people like you, Curtis, honestly, to get in the hands of some folks. People have always said, how do you get involved in things in your town? You know what I found out? It's just becoming a familiar face.
Oh,
If you just show up
absolutely.
at enough events someday, keep your mouth shut, wear a nice suit, all of a sudden people think you're important. Sometimes that suit can be greasy jeans and a black T-shirt, but
True.
you show up in enough places and people kind of get the feel for things.
Mm.
But it's a nice town, and I always tell people that we've got a river. First of all, not every town has that. If you grew up in this town, are you guys from the town? Yeah. Okay, you kind of grew up by it, so you don't really appreciate it as much as we should. Charlie Zine, he's all over the river. He's a good guy to sit down with. We've got theater. Do you want high-end theater? We got that. We've got community theater. Music. If you want to see music, there's always music in Aurora. And it's usually free.
Right.
Other businesses supporting things, supporting local artists. The open mic scene, whatever you want to call it, is huge here. Big industrial stores. You want to go to a Walmart? We got a Walmart. You want to shop local? You can shop local. It's a nice town. It's a nice place to hang out, So that's kind of what I'm doing down here is not a whole lot of anything but looking at art and meeting good people. Drinking coffee and talking about horses and stuff. So
Nice.
All right, you know the question's coming.
let's hear it.
Growing up,
Yes.
what impact did your mom have on your life?
My mom was a mom in the most traditional sense of the word. My dad was a fireman, real quick, and 4 kids. Went to St. Joe's School, then Aurora Central. My mother was always sick. Okay, I never truly remember my mother being well. She had a car accident, she had cancer, she had rheumatoid arthritis, she had some other things.
Wow.
Died when she was 50. So don't make the face, Karen. You asked the question. You knew this could have been coming. But in any case, she did, in my opinion, what moms did. And she just held the strong line, and dinner was on the table when you got home from school, and there was always a snack, and helped with the things she could help with. And but a lot of I came from a family that had come off the boat from Hungary, Romania, respectively. So there was a lot of community, there was a lot of food-based things, there was a lot of tight family thing. And, she had a huge impact on my life. I was a bonus baby, okay? So even that change in her lifestyle, but never shook. Never shook. Just went on with her day. When she was really sick, she'd be slower. When she was better, she'd be better. And that's it. But I think maybe what you're looking for is I grew up in a conventional family, probably to the truest sense of the word. Dad worked, mom didn't, 4 kids, school, dinner on the table, 5 o'clock. Dad was a fireman, so that schedule shifted. Just a wonderful mom, But again, I was 13 when she passed away, and then 14 when my dad died a year later. So. That's the impact. However, I did get the pleasure of going to the Fire Museum, great place, when it was still a working fire station.
And we're talking about Galena and Broadway.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, New York and Broadway.
Right there. Still a working fire station.
You bring with you a lot of history. So our talks that we've had, and there's been millions hours of us chopping it up. I'm going to circle back around about the Aurora downtown thing, but what is America to you?
Curtis, I'm going to tell you, it is completely different than it was just a few years ago. Okay, I grew up, again, this way, and I kind of raised my son that way because I didn't have another model. So, kind of old white Republican Catholic, guns, God, this and that and the other thing, and just enough of if you make some cash, stick it in your pocket because the government's bad,
Right.
But it's really, really changed, and a lot of that's come from being downtown Aurora and meeting different people and getting to know folks and realizing that this whole thing is maybe not so bad. Maybe everybody getting along and people being nice to everybody, I think that America right now is just a whole bunch of people that got to get along better.
I agree.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
And
It is actually just that
There's
simple.
nothing wrong with somebody being patriotic, but when they take that patriotism that we should all have, you were in the Navy, right? You got that. You got your American flag outside. But when you start sliding that to a different agenda, it really just kind of skews the whole thing and kind of blows that great American melting pot away.
Yeah.
Now we're making fondue. Now we're dipping and dipping and dipping instead of mixing everything up in some soup.
Right. Now you mentioned something very interesting I picked up on. Under a bridge started Aurora downtown or something? First Fridays?
No. Dam.
Under a dam?
Downtown Aurora Art Mixer.
Downtown Aurora Art Mixer, DAAM.
And the one you really need to talk to about that is Marissa, because she really got that going at Amores, which is now Gillerson's Grubbery.
Huh.
Okay?
History.
And it was kind of a communal thing. Some of the artists that are still very well known in town started on Thursday nights having, drinks down at Amores. He was
really?
welcome. Oh yeah. Gillerson's is a great place, but 33 West Amores place. Were you here when he was in? He was ahead of his time. He was too much for Aurora at the time.
This is way before me in Aurora. Wow.
Right. But if you would have put him up now against some of the wonderful restaurants that have come from out of town that we've got going on, they're doing great things, he would have had a home run.
Revolutionary mentality, slow society to get with it.
Yeah. It just, the market wasn't there. People didn't even understand what he was serving sometimes. The food was so good.
Damn.
But it was truly, truly. And he's working in the city, and you'll still see him come out and with his family and hang out with the Aurora crowd. And some people that weren't here, every 14-year-old kid thinks they invented the electric guitar on his birthday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, come listen to this new Led Zeppelin album, right? So everybody's time is kind of where they started. Whoever was in charge of public art, for instance, when you came into town, is whoever's in charge will always be in charge in your mind. That bar down the street of that grocery store that you grew up with will always be Chris's grocery store.
Facts.
It doesn't matter what the sign says.
Facts.
True.
Super true.
Everyone kind of has those notches in time where things came around to what we have now, which is a wonderful, wonderful scene. I mean, we've got a whole lot of people doing a whole lot of great things with art in this town. We have enough that people are coming to see it. Does that make any sense?
No, yes. Oh, it makes total sense.
I've said for thousands of years, okay, you've checked it out on the internet, but food is what brings people. And that was one of the biggest things when we got our current administration, and I don't want to get into that side of things, but understood that. We got to get food in here. People will come for food.
Right.
You got a Rips Chicken down, 3 hours to drive down there?
Right.
Or go someplace else for that one perfect pizza. So why wouldn't we think that people are going to come from Naperville and Geneva and other parts of Aurora to come for what we've got, there's 2 towns here for sure. There's probably 5 or 6, but we know, the people sitting in this room know our little, let's just say we go up to maybe North Ave over into the west side. You know, we know our Aurora. We know our downtown.
Right.
We know all the same faces. But it's a big town. There's people that live out by the mall. You know, there's people that live on the far west side. Those folks down in Plainfield, I don't care what it says on their street sign, you know. We need to get them attracted to the other things. So we can't do everything downtown. We need to get people out into some of these other areas. I hated it because I'm a purist, but they did the fireworks out there a few times out by Fox Valley because people didn't want to come downtown. Now I think those people would love to be downtown. They just didn't understand what was going on. There's just so much to do. We've got real companies. You want to work for a big company? We've got them. You want to. There's nothing that we don't have.
You and I one day, it was hot as hell. We were getting wacky. We were doing our thing, and you told me about haunted places in Aurora.
There's some pretty haunted places in Aurora.
Really?
Yeah, and they're not where you'd think they'd be. You know, you can always talk about the old ghost towns and stuff. Now, it's very important. I don't even believe this, and you can still see the hair standing up. You know what I mean? My experience is I grew up in Pigeon Hill, okay, which oddly enough was kind of a derogatory term.
Why?
For the Romanian and Hungarian people that lived in there as pigeon keepers.
Yes.
But now we've embraced that thing. We don't want to get into that.
Right.
If you go up to, it's now Dictograph. It used to be Churchill Lounge. It was Jackie Dale's. The old driver's license facility, if everyone knows how old we are, was over on, do you know?
I never got that.
Yeah, okay. There's a great big rock out there, and I'm going to use the word Indian. It's the name on there. I'm talking about Native American folks. I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm just going to use that term, okay? We have Indian Trail Road. We have this big rock that was talking about the Indians that would come through there. There's a strip kind of that runs along, I'm trying to think of a parallel road, but kind of through, say, Farnsworth in New York, and kind of cuts down through where they found those Civil War bodies down on the other side of the river, or on the other side of the tollway years ago. You don't know about this? Legitimate people, old folks, older than me, knew about it. You know, kids used to go down there looking around. There were some Civil War graves. And as they started to develop, they found them, and one of the bigger companies in town did everything they could do to make sure that everything was handled properly. But it was a little bit of news for a little bit of time.
Right.
But just a weird feel of just weird things going on. And if you talk to some of the other kids from the neighborhood, every now and then someone will kind of give you a little nod of, yeah, something wasn't right over there, or things like that. You know, I'm not talking about ghosts chasing you. There's a building, or a house that was burned down over kind of behind the same Dictograph area when we were kids. And nobody knows anything about that house. Everyone I grew up with played in that house, knew that neighborhood, did things. We'd ride our bikes on the old foundation. And now you go there, and even the old people that live there, nobody knows anything about that house ever. There's a few of those little places that have got some history. Some of them are just, you know, maybe it's a nice old lady who collects cats, and all of a sudden it's become the crazy lady over here.
Right.
But I think that if people are going to look for haunted stuff in Aurora, they should look outside of the old buildings. You know, there's a lot of people here before us. And again, I don't even necessarily believe in this. It's just
part of the fabric.
Right.
It's woven in.
Isn't there a book called Haunted Aurora? I think that
there
we have
is.
At the historical museum.
I've seen it, but again, I think it pretty much so.
Does it hit on those same things?
No, I think it kind of stays with the old courthouses and the old libraries. You know, the things that you'd expect. The movie scripts have been played out a few times.
Interesting. So, hold on 1 second. The time is now 8:33 a.m. You are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast, and we're sitting down with our brother, Diesel. So, all the growth that we've seen in Aurora coming up before COVID, the starting of the constructing of the bridge from Broadway to River,
right?
All the cool stuff that was happening at River Edge Park, Then we had the trolley taking you up all around town, Coco Crawl, this, and also Paramount shows. Let's not forget Mora coming up before COVID.
If you haven't been to the Paramount, whoever's listening or watching the show, go to the Paramount. Go. Even if you got to go in and say, hey, man, I got to use the bathroom real quick, just to see the place and understand that is in this town.
Yeah. I'm of the belief that we'll never get to we'll never return to normal. I think that's over. That kind of COVID talk. Oh, when things go back to normal. I don't think that'll ever happen. We'll make a new normal. But I see, maybe I'm optimistic, I see a renaissance for Aurora involving all those things. You think that's going to happen anytime soon, or do you think things will stay kind of, we'll have a lack of all of that for a while?
I think that new businesses are going to continue to pop up, new places to go, new places to hang out. People want to do things. They want to interact with people. The restaurants in this town have done a great, great job of accommodating.
They have.
Doing whatever they can. And, Mora's is a great example of somebody that's really, really gone over and above. There's been some debate about kind of leveling the playing field so everybody can still make a living, with their liquor laws and things like that. And that's for the city to handle. They're going to do a great job. But, yeah, I mean, you got to go to your restaurants right now. They're the only thing keeping us normal. Right. Isn't it really? At the end of the day, is the ability to go out and get a burrito?
Yeah, now that you mention it, I think maybe it is. Maybe it is. Because there's not regular foot traffic at the library.
Right.
So that's not packed. Even City Hall, I don't think, is operating to full pre-COVID capacity or accessibility. You need to be essential to get in there. And they encourage you to use teleservices. So, yeah, I think it is the food that makes people come out. My first time at Mora was with Christine here, and it was awesome. It was a really good vibe, yeah. Socially distanced, and it went over well. Music, good food, yeah.
All kinds of people were there. That was for the side.
All kinds. That was awesome.
The other thing from a weird standpoint is Walmart, big company, but they've been doing the drive-ins. Have you seen that?
No.
Walmart's doing a drive-in, and from what I understand, they got a nod from the city, and they're doing everything right.
Walmart's up there on Kirk, right?
Right,
yeah.
And they've done them at different ones. But I think that just that simple act of putting mom and dad and the kids, or mom and dad, or dad, or mom and the kid, whoever it is, the family, putting them in the car and going and watching a movie and seeing other people doing the same thing. And I think that this guy's shaking his head over there, man. I think that the tie-in to the old times are going to come back. That value is going to come back.
You're right about that.
First 2 weeks of the quarantine.
You're right about that.
First 2 days, everyone's like, oh, yeah, I get to hang out with the kids and the dogs, and it's going to be wonderful. About a weekend, you're like, oh, I don't know so much if I like this kid as much as I did when he was born. And then you get into the whole, no, this is kind of nice. Everyone's kind of found their own spot. Everyone's kind of settled in. And it does kind of retie that family. People are, we can't go to Disneyland, so let's repaint the living room.
As a family.
Let's get some new furniture as a family.
Right.
I don't hate the slowdown. Trust me, sometimes you need a quart of oil at 3 in the morning when Walmart's open. But now that they're not, you adjust your schedule. You don't work until, you can't go sit at the bar till midnight anymore. If you want to go sit at the bar, you only got a couple hours after work, so make better use of the time.
And you got to wear your mask.
Mask. But make better use of the time. And we're too far into this whole thing, okay? You got to wear a mask when you go into a restaurant. Don't be a dick to the guy behind the counter. Right. Don't think that for some reason, now, okay? Everyone knows it sucks. Everybody's got to do it. So we shouldn't even have to talk about still being nice to people in service industry,
Yeah.
They don't want to do it either.
That's a good point, though, with shutting down, because I found that with working remotely, that you just kind of keep going and going and going because you're working from home. So then I would quit working about like 6:30 or 7. I'm like, well, shoot, now I'm hungry, or I need to go to the grocery store. I need to go to Walmart and pick something up. But they're closed. So it's a great reminder to shut it down at a reasonable time, because you're just going to keep going and burning out.
Maybe we need a streetlight app. A little streetlight comes on your phone so you know it's time to go home at night.
Right. Well, somebody would call that government intrusion. I could see it now.
But I think that what we're finding out as a society is that we don't need to go get a quart of oil at midnight anymore, or a pair of jeans, or kids' school supplies.
Right.
Well, you always got to run to Walgreens for that poster board. You know what I'm talking about,
poster
right?
board.
Door-to-door poster board sales, like during class
Science fair?
project week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
door-to-door
exactly.
art sales, yeah.
Here you go. Here's some paint and some popsicle
Art,
sticks.
get your art right here.
So, but I do. I think that we're finding out we don't need it. And I think it's slowing everybody down. And I think that people are starting to be, I think that people, at least one-on-one, are starting to be nicer to each other.
What's the biggest crisis you remember in Aurora in your time?
Re-ask that question, Curtis. I don't know exactly what you're looking for.
What's the biggest or most memorable crisis or event in Aurora history that you remember, you can recall in your lifetime? Aurora.
You know, I really don't think of much. Nothing's really coming to mind. If you're prompting, just tell me where we're going, man.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Just probing. You know, just
Yeah,
asking.
I can't.
You have a lot of Aurora history.
Yeah, and that's another thing is, you know, we went through some tough times in the early 90s, the late 80s, you know, with the gang thing coming up and the shift in the culture.
Mhm.
But you still didn't feel unsafe. You know, there's been some little things here and there, but nothing that really stands out as is like the Pratt shooting.
I'm glad to not have an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and I think that Aurora has handled and performed well.
They do, because at the same Curtis, it doesn't matter if you came over with my grandparents from Europe, or if you came over from Mexico or Spain or Poland or any place that someone might have come here. Everybody in this town still likes each other. You know, you might have a political difference with somebody. You might inherently not like somebody because maybe your dad was an asshole and told you not to like him. But everyone kind of gets it. You know, so people do come together. There's people. The board up downtown at the riot. Before anyone even had a plan, not that it was their problem, but before there was even a formal plan, people from outside of town were coming to do things. A couple of girls came from Naperville, and it was adorable. They'd come with their mom, and they had, like, I don't know, 6 or 8 2x4s and their dad's cordless drill, I think.
Right.
You know? But they knew that they needed to do something. And the biggest thing, and I talked about this before, is I saw some folks that you see in town that I'm going to call homeless folks, okay? Had scooped up some money and went and bought some cheeseburgers to distribute to everybody that's working. And when the bums are going out of their way to help the community, you know that you're in a good place. You know, I've talked about that before. There's just a lot of community here. So I bet you we've had more tragedies than we've even known about. Does that make any sense? I think some things that could have really got out of hand got handled by good people that wanted to handle them.
How long you been riding horses?
Riding horses or talking about horses? I'm in the horse talking about business, Curtis, not so much the riding business.
He's in the
But I've been
motorcycle
on
riding.
one or two.
Tell us about Horse Talk.
Horse Talk is the #1 non-existent YouTube channel for horse videos and information. We've started with some topics about why horses jump over the fence. We've talked about different breeds of horses. We've talked recently with Kate Ballard about some saddle fitting, and
Shout out to Kate.
Shout out to Kate and Greg, and how, you know, you got to fit the saddles to the horses and things. And then we've turned them on to some other political views. So we kind of went away from the barn talk to some other day-to-day things.
Politics and horses?
No, not necessarily politics so much as environmental issues.
Certainly.
One of which being recently how plastic straws make superior nesting materials for birds.
Right.
And that they don't biodegrade, and that birds can, you know, use those nests for thousands of years. You know, talk about bringing ecology back. Birds don't have to build nests. They got all kinds of free time. That's the kind of thing you want. Polar bear charities. Not the actual saving of the polar bears, but polar bear charities. If you want a T-shirt with a polar bear on it, you should just buy one. But don't think that your $20 is somehow or another going to buy more ice or salmon.
Right.
You know, those type of things. We've even talked a little bit about that lady that might have killed her husband with all the tigers. We're not sure about that, but that's the one. Ding. But yeah. No, horse talk is, it's always kind of been my own little spoof thing about a guy not knowing anything about a horse farm and winding up kind of in charge of a whole bunch of horses by happenstance.
I was with you one day at a horse farm.
Yes.
You know, as a young brother growing up in the other city.
Not a lot of horses.
Not a lot of horses at all. Whenever I've been around a horse, I must admit, I've been intimidated by the sheer strength, power, size of this animal. It's not a bear. I don't have to worry about claws ripping me apart. I don't have to worry about being mauled by a lion. I don't even have to worry about the quickness of a monocled cobra bite combined with the venom. How long did it take you to get over being scared of horses? Or were you ever...
I'm going to tell you what,
Did you ever have that kind of fear of a horse?
Curtis, I was terrified of horses.
Okay.
Terrified of horses. Okay.
It's not just me.
I was in the fixin' thing business, okay? I would walk down the aisle. It's important that you know something about horses, okay? A horse, a properly trained horse, will do anything that you want it to do until it decides not to. That's the key.
Yeah.
You get the damn things to juggle until they decide they don't want to juggle that day.
Right.
And then they're like, you know what, I'm just going to push this guy around for a little bit. I was terrified of horses, okay? And we had come across a situation where a horse had fallen down in the field and couldn't get back up. And there was immediately, I didn't have the luxury. What are we doing there, Curtis? Not interesting enough for you? You're texting there, playing some Tetris or something? Okay.
I was looking to see if there was any questions for you about horses.
Got it. This horse had been injured and fallen in the field. And it became immediately apparent that I no longer had the luxury of being afraid of horses. Okay? At this point now, we had an injured animal that I was afraid of. We had this lady that owned this horse. We had this little girl who's watching this situation go down with her horse. You just weren't given an option. And then the horse is kind of like, hey, thanks for, not letting them, thanks for taking care of me, so to speak.
Right.
And every now and then it had come from injured horses. Every time that I ever had a really good experience or really good bonding, it was from an injured horse that decided to let you take care of it. I had a buddy just casually mention, I don't know if you saw it on the internet or some old guy told him in a bar, but he says, the horses came to people. If you think back to native folks and people over in Europe that had horses, no one just said, hey, man, I'm going to go catch that horse, and instead of eating it, I'm going to throw a saddle on it, get a horse blanket, and a whole bunch of squeaky horse toys and stick her for the back window of the car. Horse walked up to people and said, hey, man, what's going on? So they do have, the fear is always there. You always have to be really, really aware of what's going on. But you do get over it quick. And they do become very loving, friendly animals. And I've never seen, you can look at your dog in the morning and you already know the dog did something wrong or this or that, or they got that loving affection. But I've never seen an animal truly bond emotionally with somebody like a horse does. You can walk down the aisle and go past every one of them. Every one of them will acknowledge you that day in their own special way.
Yeah.
So,
Diesel, you're also a motorcycle enthusiast.
I am also a motorcycle enthusiast.
What do you do?
I ran an independent shop for quite a few years, and now I'm working with the Cycle Vision Network project with Kenny Abbott and Daniel Lowe and some other great guys.
Shout out to
Christy
Cycle
Emmons.
Vision.
Right on. And what we're doing is we're bringing a little bit different perspective to motorcycle racing, motorcycling as a whole, and trying to get some crossover into the industry. Folks like yourself that might not be into motorcycles, what it does, how to get that interest. We had taken some friends for the first time to the races a couple of weeks ago, and it was an 11-year-old boy and his mother from England, Greg and Greg's family with Kate there, and they'd never seen this. And to just see the excitement on a little kid's face as these bikes come flying by, it's just a great feeling. You know,
are these bikes from all kind or just like motocross?
These are road motorcycle racing bikes. These are super bikes, mostly from Japanese manufacturers. They're all ninjas. If you don't know what you're talking about, yes, they're the ninja bikes.
Seems I don't know what I'm talking about on that.
In any case, yeah. But more importantly, the project is going to be an advertising platform for companies to get a full gamut rather than coming into the, hey, we like motocross or we like super bike racing or we like Harleys. You know, so we're going to give a platform to everybody to equally share in the dollars, and again, to bring awareness. Again, we have Motorcycle Awareness Month. We don't need to do that, people. Look out for motorcycles. No one wants to get hit. And no one wants to hit anyone. I have a hard time believing that anyone that ever goes out in a car wants to kill somebody that day or even ruin their day. But that's a little bit of it. You know, I'm working with some other projects here and there, getting some things done, but basically just kind of trying to help the world out and get other people's projects launched right now.
Nice.
How'd you get the name Diesel?
Okay, Curtis, this is a funny story here. We're all adults in the room. So I had spent quite a few years on a motorcycle at this point, and I was out with some friends, not necessarily being a responsible adult, but having a few adult sodas out on the bike with a group of friends. It was a Honda.
Chilling.
It wasn't a Harley. Chilling. Chilling. May have been, I don't know if left-handed cigarette is a term that we know what we're talking about. But in any case, I had pulled over, and I had started to fill my my motorcycle up with the diesel fuel at the pump. And normally this would be in a case where a guy'd go, hey, we'd made this mistake, and I'd like to figure out how to rectify it. And you call your buddies, you say, hey, man. That would be great if you had regular buddies. My buddies are kind of assholes. So they decide to announce to the other 200 people that are out there with this day that I have now put diesel fuel in my motorcycle and I'm now holding up the entire crowd.
Oh.
Okay. So I didn't even know half of these people. You know the 5 or 6 guys you leave with this day.
Right.
But we're out in Sycamore, and I walked in the door, and my buddy had carefully announced over the microphone that here comes the diesel boy. Okay. This had gone on forever. A stranger in a store, hey, you're that diesel guy, this and that and the other thing. So it had just kind of been one of those things that stuck.
It stuck.
I've always told people, and a guy in the military told me this, that if a guy's got a really cool nickname, he did something stupid to deserve it.
Ha!
Gunner probably shot himself in the foot in basic training. You know?
That's true. That is true.
So
Lefty probably doesn't have a left hand.
Right. Actually, the backstory is that I had a sign upside. When I opened the motorcycle shop, I had a big sign outside that said Anton's, and people kept coming in for haircuts. So I figured I needed to do something a little different.
Do you slip a bike name then Anton?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
I get it.
So,
nice. As we go into 2021, I have reservations. I do. Now,
about going into 2021 in general, or
well, no, I want to get there.
Okay,
but
this was the intervention we were talking
about. It's you and I have had so many conversations about so many topics, of which we can't get them all onto an hour-long show.
Right on.
Many of which will probably be a little bit too risque for a family show this early in the morning.
Right on.
What I do want to hammer home and get more of your perspective on, though, is what we want our sandbox to look like with everybody playing in it, in a metaphorical sense. You know, what we want the city, our neighborhood, our lives, our little slice of the pie to look like.
What needs to happen?
What needs to happen? What does Diesel think needs to happen?
This is an easy one. The biggest thing that needs to happen is that people that went camping together, worked on art shows together, had dinner together, went to people's family picnics together, need to stop arguing, stop saying bad shit about each other, and just kind of go back to where people were. There's too much infighting over politics, racial issues that do or don't exist. I don't mean to undermine that by any means, but people turning a blind eye to somebody that's been friends with them for 20 years because they have a different view on if you should be wearing a mask in a house, you know? Just those type of things. I think that everyone needs to just hit the rewind button. How did we get here? We're taking potentially, I'm going to use the word art shows, okay, and a big encompassing thing that used to be about people's expression, about people's community, and we're turning into political things, which is great. I get the need of art to express that, but we're now looking at destroying these things because people have become so angry at each other they don't want to work together anymore. You know, we've all deleted that Facebook friend, you know, and a lot of it, some of it is in, you know, I've seen this guy's tattoos. I know he's a hateful guy, but now I realize this guy's an idiot too.
Yeah.
You know, some of that is just, it's got to stop.
Do you think this is coming out because of social media, or do you think these arguments are still happening face to face?
They don't happen face to face. We all know that.
So it's more of just people going online and just voicing their opinion.
We could have the guy who runs the boxing club's been around forever.
Jesse.
Right on. We rent the place from him. We get everyone who wants to argue on Facebook. Take charity auction for it. Boom. Punch each other in the face a few times. Give the money to Murray Wilkinson, and away we go. All right, let's do some good out of it. But no, it's people being ugly to each other because they don't see each other face to face. One, because of the COVID. Two, because there's more time to sit and look at Facebook. You know, if you're working from home, let's be honest, every now and then it squeaks up. The whole thing is that people just need to rewind. What were we all doing a year ago? We were all sitting down here behind Treadwell having dinner together. All right? Prior to the folks that are down there now, somebody had their 50th birthday in an alley that people used to come to do God knows what in downtown Aurora. We got lights up. We got a long table of people in the community.
Chocolate cake with the blueberry sauce inside of the chocolate.
Right there. Right.
It was good as hell.
So, yeah, right on. So, what happened to those people in between now and then? That they stopped talking to each other? They stopped supporting each other? How's a guy who works and supports an artist for his entire career then get slammed by that artist for something he had no control over? Or how does somebody... Everybody's already had their own my neighbor's fence is too close to my yard argument. Those are never going to go away. But we all want the city to prosper, okay? We all want people to want to come to our city, okay? We all want to be able to walk safely down the streets. And we want, you know, a way to make a living. We were doing that. It was happening. It was totally happening. And then all this stuff happened, and people decided that rather than come together, they decided to be ugly to each other.
The time is now 8:57 a.m. You are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And we are joined by our brother and friend, Horse Talk and CVN, Psychovision Network, Diesel. It's Wednesday. Before we end the show, what do people need to take with them today? What's the message of the day?
Curtis, it's the same message every time I close the show. Be nice to the bums. All right? We got a lot of homeless folks in this town, however they became there, whether they be mentally ill, whether they just decided, fuck it. I liked Halloween. I like free candy. I'm going to do this for a living. But be nice to them. You don't have to give them money. You do have to give them respect. They're people. So...
Be nice to everyone. Yeah, just make some positive changes. It's going to make a difference.
Love one another.
Were you running for Miss America? Come on. Work it up here a little bit.
You put me on the spot.
He's
That's
busy
the point.
doing sound.
That's
He's
how I
busy
do.
doing sound.
What's going on? Yeah, like I said, respect everyone as if they were the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Because you never know the situation that they may be in. Or you know, maybe they just need those little, little tweaks to their life. And maybe they will be the next CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Double down on the niceness and eliminate the negative. You've been listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Check us out tomorrow as we have community partner and friend, Joel Frieder, is on the show. Got a lot more to come. Friday, we will be at Cottonseed Creative Exchange, going live again. Thank you to everyone who made the show possible. Thank you to all of our listeners and supporters. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up with more cool content coming soon.